Begin recording.
This is the May 19th meeting of the Town of Windermere Development Review Board. We have a quorum, and I would like to call the meeting to order with a pledge of allegiance to the flag that Jennifer Roper is holding up. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
Stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
Try not to show my sweatpants.
Tonight we are, anybody who has a comment before the meeting can put it on the chat box, which is at the bottom of the screen. And we will address that now, 3 minutes.
So far, nobody has signed in.
Okay, so we move to the agenda.
Yes.
Dorothy, do I need to read that statement now? From February?
Was that for the last meeting?
That was for the February meeting.
Yes, you have to read that portion into the record from the February meeting.
Unfortunately, it's behind my screen.
Madam,
We'll go next month. It's all right. We'll do it next month.
All right. It basically says that I have a consulting position with the town on the new town facilities, which include time I spent on the temporary facilities, but I didn't receive, didn't charge my time for that. So
Right.
that was the statement basically, which I can't get to.
That's okay. We'll
All
get it when we approve.
The meeting tonight on the agenda is the presentation of the, let's go to the minutes of the meeting for February 18th.
Yep.
Do I have any comments or a motion to approve?
motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Can we do a roll call? So we'll do Ms. Sutton.
Norma?
Aye.
Aye. William Yeager.
Bill?
Aye.
Jennifer Roper.
Aye.
Molly Rose.
Aye.
Peter Fleck.
And Stephen Withers, aye. So
Peter Fleck.
I think you should.
I said aye.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Unanimous.
I'm sorry, was the
Approval of the
second?
minutes of the last meeting. The new meeting is the proposed town event pavilion. I shall turn that over to Brad Cornelius for the presentation, or to John Armstrong.
John Armstrong. Wow.
I thought he was going. You said he was going to be on the meeting.
John Fitzgibbon.
Oh, John Fitzgibbon. Yeah, that other John.
You know, I unmuted myself, Stephen, so you would remember who I was, because I just talked to you about 7 times today.
I know.
This John Armstrong would probably be here till midnight.
Oh,
The other John.
I'm gonna let Chris Sapp do a little intro, and then I can take it from there. And then
Yeah, sure.
if I need to.
If everybody's read the package, you should have a pretty detailed summary, kind of where we got to with this point. But basically, I was the chair for quite some time with the Downtown Business Committee. Some sort of staging has always been in conversation, for all the events that we do, being the Windermere Craft Beer Fest, food trucks, farmers markets, etc. Not only do these events cost money with staging, lights, etc., but also with restroom facilities. So we have to rent portalettes for each one of those events. So these conversations were kind of put on a hiatus for a little bit of time due to town facilities. Because naturally, the best location for something like this would be in the town center area, and likely where a dilapidated building currently sits, which is the community room. Parallel to this, the Rotaries came upon their 50th anniversary, and my understanding, they approached town manager Robert Smith about doing a gazebo of sorts. So he put us together. We had some conversation that we would, put these two ideas together to make an event pavilion that would be utilized for not only Rotary, Downtown Business Committee, but for the town itself. So after that, we put together a group, and those individuals were made up of a resident, which was Stephen Withers. John Fitzgibbon is on long range planning. He was the chair of the committee. Scott Brown represented the town admin or public works. Matthew Mayton represented the Downtown Business Committee. Byron Sutton, the Rotary Club of Windermere, and myself, I sat on there as a liaison for town council. So from there, I'll turn it over to John. He can give you an idea, a quick rundown, kind of the scope of work of the program, but I think just get to the meat and potatoes of it. What we came up with the floor plan, and then two different options for the elevation of the building.
John, do you want to share a screen, or you just want to use mine?
I think your screen's fine, Robert. If you can just scroll down to the floor plan and then maybe hit the zoom button and just kind of come in a little bit. So I think it's important for those on the DRB to understand the considerations that we made in understanding the design process, which was coming up with kind of a scope of work for a program. One of the things that we did with the downtown business community, with all of the folks that would ultimately utilize this facility, was engaging them, come up with focus groups, and try and figure out what are the things that we have a need in our downtown facility. And as we began to develop initially out of the, can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we began with kind of developing a scope of work for us to submit to a design firm. One of them was looking at concerts, musical performances, understanding that those musical performances could be anywhere from 3 to 5 on a stage to maybe an orchestra in a lower pit, looking at an outdoor presentation area for events great events in our town, looking at movie backdrops for movie nights, looking at concession stands to serve town events. More importantly, looking at public facilities and public toilets so that we didn't have to always bring in portalettes for every event that we did, while at the same time providing proper storage for those events to come in and come out and do their things that they need to do. And so we took all that into play as we began to understand the design. The one thing that we did try and do throughout the design is understand scalability and understand the fact that it doesn't want to be this big monolith within our town. How do we take all of those program elements? How do we build that into an environment which is very pedestrian friendly, not overly powering to our environment? How does it relate to the other buildings that we have within our community, but yet answer the call for the program elements, in which is incumbent in a good design? And so this kind of becomes the floor plan. What I do want to, just from a frame of reference for you guys, if you look at those two dotted lines that are in behind the arc of this new building, we have the old community room, and then we have the restrooms, which are just to the south of that. The one thing that we did want to do was arc the building. When you're looking at, through experience with Universal Studios, when you're looking at sound, you're understanding the way things work. We wanted to project that experience towards the downtown district versus our neighbors. And so the design took into account what we were trying to do to protect sound intrusion going to the west versus to the east. Robert, if you can zoom in a little bit to the north side, we have this concession storage area. The whole idea behind that is not to get into high cost of putting in food, equipment, and all the other stuff. It just gave us an opportunity that if the Tree Butte was doing a thing and they wanted to have refreshments, or if the Rotary Club was doing an event and they wanted to be able to use this place, they would cook outside, but could potentially use this as an opportunity to sell things. So it's not a high-end food service equipment type operation. It's really just an opportunity for space. Behind that would be the electric room. And then anytime you want to design these things, you do have the AV stage wing storage. So as events and groups come in, we might have the Bach concert folks come in and they want to have a little area where they can pre-set up. So you always want to be able to provide some wing storage within the environment that you're projecting for the stage. And if you can scroll up just a little bit. I'm sorry, the other way, sorry. You see the restroom facilities. So what we wanted to do is provide enough restrooms. We studied that heavily with Hunt and Brady to determine, and with Brad Cornelius through our town and also the building officials, because we wanted to be able to size it appropriately by code for the potty period and understanding how many restroom facilities and toilets that we need. So what we were able to do is kind of study the outer circular ring of the event space to allow us to have enough restroom facilities that we felt like we wouldn't have to bring in porta potties throughout any major event, but yet we still had enough spaces to answer the call based on code. In addition to that, we also provided 2 additional family restrooms for those that might be nursing or for those that might have young children with diaper changing tables and all the other things that needed a little bit more private access to it. And so we kind of felt like we were able to build all of this wonderful program space into a fairly small footprint that built into the environment and the pedestrian scale in which the town of Windermere is noted for. And so if you want to scroll down to, we have 2 options that we kind of looked at. And, you know, anytime you're doing due diligence on anything in architectural design, we always want to be able to provide options that are both cost effective and a little more expensive. This is probably more of the expensive one. And one of the things that we wanted to do is provide people in the picture so that you guys understood the scale. The scale is very important because sometimes when you look at renderings, you say, oh my gosh, this thing's huge. But when you think about the fact that the community room is about from the guy in the red pants to the guy to the right side of that rendering, that's the scale that we're dealing with. So I always get concerned whenever I show renderings to anybody without them understanding what scale means. One of the things that we did look at through the design and keeping it in concert is looking at the continuation of the kind of the lap board horizontal siding, while at the same time providing these little red plaques that you see on that might be donors, that might be etched into like this little red glass, that are just reminders for people that invested into our community. So we did want to raise the amphitheater up a little bit on the center stage just to bring focus to it. We've got the side sloping coming over the side elements. One of the things that Steve and I looked at was, okay, this is really nice. How do we look at maybe a more cost-effective approach? And if you look at option 2, which if you could scroll down, Robert, this was looking at how do you maybe look at a flat roof versus not going into that high level extended roof. We have proposed this to the long range planning committee. They preferred to look at the first option that we showed you, not necessarily the second option. Although both of them work fine from an architectural perspective, both of them work fine from a functional perspective. It's really just about cost. But I think it is important for us to remember that what we're trying to do is build a pitch package for the downtown business community and for the Windermere Rotary to go out and raise money for this. And so one of the things that we did discuss, and this is just for background chatter and background information for you guys as you begin to determine which option you want to move forward with, the long range planning committee decided to move forward with option 1 because we really felt that that one connected more with the town. It kind of felt a little more professional. It gave it that amphitheater look with the eyebrows coming off of both the left and the right wing. In addition to that, it also gave us an overhang on both the left and the right side over the restrooms and over the concession for a little bit of line formulation. So if you did have people waiting in line in the concession stand, We actually provided them some shade shelter as well as rain shelter. So that's kind of the presentation, kind of gets you to where we were. And I know it's been a long haul for us. We've been doing this for probably 6 to 8 months. We've taken a lot of time to put our due diligence into the design, the look. We've had multiple studies done, and so I'll open it up for any discussion points, questions, concerns to you guys. So,
John, what is the, how tall is this thing? How long is it? And about what height is the stage off of the ground? Is there any elevations or sections anywhere?
we do, obviously, Molly, you know, Hunt and Brady, that's the one thing that I did forget to mention, that Hunt and Brady has done this at no cost to the town of Windermere to help us with our pricing. The stage itself is about, and Robert, can you go to the plan view? And if you look, we did kind of put that in and then zoom in a little bit. The stage itself is at plus 24, so it's about 24 inches off of the ground. The height of the structure before you get to the elevated roof is probably about 12 to 13 feet. So it's not like, you know, overly cumbersome in elevation.
Mm-hmm.
But yet we wanted it to be the right scale. So we scaled it down. And if you look at the elevations from a perspective with the folks, you start to understand that this isn't like this big obelisk within the town. When you look at this, you know, the gentleman standing there, and you look at the folks up on the stage, you know, they're only, you know, they're 6 feet, 5.5, 6 feet. So to that top of that gray wall is probably maybe 8, 9 feet. And then maybe to the extension of the top of the roof is like 9 feet to 12 feet to the outer, you know, elevation portion.
And what is the estimated, what's the estimate for it?
Well, we, you know, obviously haven't got deep into that. We kind of had a rough order of magnitude that we were thinking at, that this is probably close to $500,000 full investment, and that it would be incumbent upon both the DRB and the Rotary Club to generate the funds to be able to support, you know, the funding of it. What we wanted to do was be due diligent in understanding and designing something that was cost effective, not overly expensive, while at the same time providing a package for those folks with both the downtown business development and also for the Rotary to go out and fund something that is manageable for them to fund. So that was always the basis of what we were trying to do.
John, that was a downtown business committee, not the DRB.
Yeah, I apologize for that. I got my acronyms mixed up. So I did correct myself when I said the downtown business committee on the back side of that.
So what is the cost per square foot then that they're figuring it on?
I think that ended up to be about 80 or 90 bucks a square foot, Molly, but I don't remember that off the top of my head, and I can get you that information. I don't want to put that in the bank.
But okay, what if it's really $1 million gig? What happens then? What if they do actually raise, you know, $500,000 and find out that it's really $1 million?
Well, you know, one of the things that we would like to do, so I probably should have started out to say, what is the step-by-step process, right?
Okay.
One of the things that we do need to do is, now that we actually have a design. So step one is, do you guys like this design? We believe that it's within the $500,000 range. We've done our due diligence. We've known, you know, you got to start somewhere. We finalized what the program was. We finalized its position within the town to make it sense from a master planning perspective. We've kind of settled in on this particular perspective that we're looking at. I think the next step would probably be to, you know, go out and get some high-level budget numbers from conceptual folks. We could probably get numbers from HJ High, folks we're working with today, and we can get other numbers. But what we wanted to do was provide a package that both the Downtown Business Committee as well as the Rotary could use for fundraising. And so, you know, to some extent, is it incumbent upon them to say, okay, this is what the town will accept, this is the thing. maybe they go out next and find out, confirmation on budget, and then allows them to go out and hit the mark on what they need to put their thermometer on raise.
Can I make 2 points there, John?
Yes.
One is the Rotary and the downtown business are responsible for raising money for the pavilion. The town is providing the land,
Correct.
obviously. And so the town has a very vested interest in what happens here. But the raising of the funds, we said, was Rotary and downtown business. Also, we, that's why we came up with an option that was a less expensive option, that we all liked option one. Option two might be what we can afford. The second thing I'd like to point out, though, is, Molly, you asked about size. We did go out and talk to several orchestras and bands, and the stage up there is sized for about 35 orchestra members, with about 15 in front on the skirt below. And they said that's normal for a presentation like this. Some of the people we talked to were the orchestra that played at the dedication for the Veterans Memorial a few years ago. And they had 42 people under a tent.
Okay.
Might I add, Byron has been instrumental in working with Hunt and Brady. He is the one that took this project to them and got these preliminary designs. They have indicated that they are willing at no cost to do some more work so that we could have more details so we could get it spec'd. So we need a cost estimate on it, obviously, but a little more detail is required for that, but I believe we can get that.
But I think what we have now, Norma, we could certainly get within $100,000 of where we want to be. If it was a $400 or $500 or $600,000, then we could VE the price up or down.
Absolutely.
So what are you asking us to approve today? Is it the money or is it the look? Because
Molly, it would be the recommendation to town council for the concept, because again, they're the landowners, so they would have to agree to the concept. And then whatever concept is chosen, then it would be up to DVC and Rotary to raise the funds.
okay.
So at this point, it has not been in front of council. They've given the blessing along the way for these steps. Like you said, it's already been through there was a subcommittee put together that had stakeholders that we thought were a good fit. LRP's already done it. Council wanted to take the next step because it is public land. You guys are part of zoning to have DRB take a look at this and make comment and make a recommendation. The next step would be a workshop once we can have public meetings again in person. We want to make sure that we've got an investment, at least by the town, that they, want to move forward with something like this. Once we get approved concept, then Rotary, DVC, anybody else that wants to be involved can move forward with, getting some more cost estimates and raising those funds. But we can't get to that next step until council gives the blessing on at least the design.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is important is, as a committee, we wanted to provide all of our other committees an opportunity to look at a cost-effective version of it and one that's a little more slightly enhanced. And I think once we started doing those studies and we started looking at it, that this is not a town investment, but this is something that some folks are going to go out and raise money for, then it's important for the town to set the bar and say, this is the minimum look that we want to be able to achieve. And so I think it's important, as each one of the committees looks at, what a lower grade versus an upper grade kind of solution is, that you guys kind of pick one, and then we kind of move forward to say, if you are going to do this, and if you are going to go out and raise money, this is the minimum look that we would want and accept within our town limits. That's really what the study boiled down to.
Okay. Does this impact the basketball court or any trees or anything that's currently there, other than, I guess, you're getting rid of that community building and the restrooms that are associated with that?
if you go back to the site plan, Robert, it really doesn't affect the, and if you zoom out a little bit, you might see that. It doesn't really affect the basketball court, Molly, at all, because it's beyond the limits, which is basically that square thing to the right of that kind of circle part.
Oh, that's the basketball court?
Yeah, and obviously if you look at just to the left of the sidewalks, you can see the trees. Two of them have already come down because they're rotted. The third one needs to come down. So in essence, it's not affecting any species that are or any live oaks right now. It's only affecting trees that we knew needed to probably come out within the next year or two anyways. So the net effect is community room, restrooms, and trees that are either already come down or need to come down.
If I may add to that, you can see that the back of the proposed building on the site plan there is in line with the current community room back line, and that does two things. One, it does not push into current parking areas that we have for events. And two, it does salvage other trees. There's some longleaf pines and things like that that are behind the building. And to furthermore on the basketball, the only thing that may be affected, there's the bottom part of the tee. If you recall that there's the large basketball court and then the perpendicular smaller one, that the basketball hoop may need to either be removed or be removable because it would be right in the line of sight of the stage.
Okay.
I have some comments. I like the idea. I think there's a need for it. The design of it, I know you've spent a lot of time. I'm afraid of it distracting from town hall and the look we have there and having it more. Robert, can you put me on the screen so that I can show? And this isn't something I want to build. I'm just saying there's so many options, different looks.
Which screen would you like to see?
I want to show you something. Can everyone see that?
So you want to share your screen with Robert?
Yeah,
Well,
I wanna share my-
you'd have to click share screen. I'm going to do stop share, and then you'll see share screen. It should be a green.
I see it. Yep, just click that.
Yep. But you have to have it on the computer that you're working on.
Well, I'll just show it to you here. Oh, you can't see it.
No.
Well, anyway, the town square, it has a certain look to it. And my concerns are the style of it doesn't, I know we're going to have the roof coming out over the stage, and I don't like the one with no roof on the ends. It's just such like a big blank long thing. I'm not really in favor of putting plaques on the wall. I don't think that's very classy. Maybe like bricks, how people do brick with people's names on them or something like that.
Jennifer, one of the things that, anything, that's just a high level concept. That's a detail that we can ultimately work out. I think what their idea is that they would be these floating red glass plates with etched glass with the person's name in it.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
I don't care for that idea, but with the two big long white sides, like I'm assuming that's siding that kind of would match the town hall.
Yeah, that was the idea, was to run the horizontal siding that kind of worked with the town, or it could be, it just wanted to be, consistent with what we were doing with all of our town facilities with the horizontal clap siding.
Right. Well, I just looked online and found some amphitheater type buildings that were pleasing to the eye. They had the room on both ends. They had the bathrooms on one end, and you could enter them from behind or the side. Same thing. But like one had a roof that was rounded the other way, and it had columns, and it looked very pretty, and it would match, something like that would match the town hall more. I'm not against the idea at all, but I just think it's like really different from everything else that's on that block. And I mean, in Windermere, it doesn't matter where you live, you hear everything anyway. So I wouldn't be opposed to having the back open a little. It would help a breeze go through there for performers. But that's just what I'm thinking. I really don't care for the design much, unless you put like facade of, I don't know, it might look silly to have a facade of windows or something, but it just looks like a big drive-in movie theater or something to me. I'm sorry. But I like the idea of having something like that. It looks just really long and big, and it doesn't really go with the town hall. Those are my comments.
I think part of it, I can see where you're coming from, but landscaping would definitely go a long way. It's hard to put landscaping in a concept design because we're trying to approve the design itself.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure we get hung up.
Well, as far as approving any design, there wasn't really, the only measurements I saw on the site plan was the 24-inch. I guess that's how tall the floor is. But I didn't really see any other dimensions. And if I did, they were just too shattered.
There is a graphic scale on the plan.
Yeah, I tried to use that. It was a little too tiny.
Yeah.
It looks like it's about 15 feet deep, and I don't know, maybe 40 feet long, 50 feet long.
Well, 80 bucks a square foot. Would that be like, is it like, it's not 5,000 square feet, is it?
That would be 4,000 square feet.
4,000 square feet.
Oh,
Is it that big? That's bigger than the floor plan of the town
no,
hall.
you're right, 5,000, yeah.
But you guys remember the cost per square feet doesn't relate necessarily to the size of the facility. What it relates to is a lot of the stuff from the infrastructure costs and some of the other things that we might put in it for future sound systems, conduits. You know, if we want to do lighting trusses, we want to do whatever the town wants to provide for the accessibility to the individual vendors.
So this is
The only thing that I would suggest is on looking on size. If you go to the next drawing, Robert, and then zoom in to the person in the red pants, and keep zooming in a little bit. I want you to see the scale. So this is what, you know, as you start to look at the gentleman that's standing in front of this, you know, he's 6 feet. The height to the top of the roof is 12 feet, maybe, if you double him, maybe 13 feet. So one of the things that is important is that this is scalable. It's within the context of the pedestrian scale of what our town is. And, you know, an amphitheater is an amphitheater. What we were trying to do is design the look without getting it to the, you know, the Greek look of the columns and everything else, but also provide not necessarily modernism, but also modernistic use for the space, while at the same time maintaining the character of the architecture of the town hall, so it didn't look like a pimple. And, you know, Stephen was, and I'm letting you chime in, Stephen, you're the chair of the DRB. You know, we spent a lot of time in discussion about the look of this place and how it could fit in, so it didn't look like a redheaded stepchild in our town, but yet still had, you know, the feel and the look of what we wanted it to be for the future.
Yeah, I actually don't have a problem with the look. I just think the budget isn't working for me because I can't really tell what's in it or what isn't. But I actually like.
There's a lot of questions, Molly. This is, you know, I mean, you and I've been through this many times at Universal. This is like a high level concept, and it's kind of an acceptance concept to this is the minimum that the town will accept. I
Yeah,
think
but
it's incumbent
but at a
upon-
high level concept, John, all we can do is a square foot cost, and I don't think 80, $90 is gonna work. But I don't really, I mean,
Well,
that's why I didn't even try to figure out what the square foot was. If you,
Yeah, I get it. But you have to remember, there's no HVAC, there's no, major electrical, there's basically.
well, there's gotta be HVAC in those restrooms. Right?
well, on the electrical for if we had a band or
necessarily, we
anything,
don't
they
have-
need power.
We don't
Yeah.
have
If we had a
HVAC.
play, they would need lighting.
Anyways, if that's not the issue here, I guess our recommendation can be like, yeah, we like the look, or we don't, but I happen to like it. And that the next step should be to get a really good estimate on what you've got.
Agreed.
And then go after money. Because I'm just afraid you might go after money and find that you're really off. And then that's a lot of waste of time.
Yeah. You got to remember, we started with nothing.
No, I understand that. You guys have done
You got to
fine.
start
And
somewhere.
on $0 too. I mean, that's
Exactly. So we've done this entire thing. We've gotten these renderings for no cost to the town, thanks to Norma and Byron, and Hunt and Brady stepping up to the plate. I think what we were saying is that as a town, we had minimum standards, and we felt like we wanted to move forward with option 1 versus option 2. We liked the program, we liked the layout. Now let's find out whether or not we can afford it and they can raise enough dollars to build it.
I would like to comment back to Jennifer's concern. The one thing I think that doesn't show up in this rendering is those trusses, the wood trusses, I assume, that would have a very warm appearance, where right now they look like a very gray, cold environment. And I think, my opinion is there would be a expression and very warm, as opposed to this quite gray color. That's the detail, but I think it would change the residential appearance of this building a little bit.
And is that a sign on the front of it there?
Maybe.
In front of the guy with the red pants?
Well, it's just implying that there might be some, Windermere cultural pavilion or something. I'm not sure. I know Barn was putting on a request to make it the Rotary Pavilion. We have.
It's basically, it looks to me, it's basically as long as maybe 5 of the community rooms without the bathroom on it. If you just took the building of the community room, it's like 5 of those in a row.
No. I don't think
It's not that big.
Do you
3.
see
Yeah.
the-
Like 3.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not opposed to the concept at all. I just want to make sure that, and I know you guys have been working hard on it, but don't take it personal, because this is something that'll be here forever, possibly. And we want people to not go, whoa, what is that? When they pull in it. It needs to match the town. So it would get a lot of use, though.
I had a quick question. The placement of the structure, did I understand that we're trying to preserve the parking behind it for, is that why it's pushed all the way forward?
Well, there's also a septic tank back there that we would probably want to have a septic system, which would want to be behind the building. And then there's the parking beyond that.
Well, for $500,000, I mean, I'm okay with taking down a septic tank to get maximize.
Oh, I am too. I'm just saying, you got to have space for it. You got to have
I
a location
understand.
for it.
But it just feels like if I thought I had heard somebody say that the parking was trying to be preserved behind it. I guess also the other thing is the timeline on this structure. If that back space, are we going to be coming into conflict with the temporary trailers while the administration building is being constructed? So other question I had is on timeline.
This project will not interfere with the temporary facilities because this will be after the temporary
Yeah.
facilities are removed. We're going to be
Okay.
using the community room for evidence storage and additional storage.
Okay.
So you wouldn't want to pivot it a little bit away, like toward the town hall at all, because you're trying to use the pavement that's already there? So that was the idea of that?
I'm
I
sorry.
mean, if you like rotated it a little bit more at an angle, because it's kind of on the corner, not quite, but
You
But,
mean,
you know, again, that will, you got to remember, this is conceptual. You know, one of the things that we've talked about numerous times is to rotate it a little bit more towards the north and the east, to allow it to reflect more towards the town hall. But whether that thing rotates a little bit more to the north and to the east, or, you know, however that works out, is irrelevant at this point, because we're at 30,000 feet. We're not drilling down to the 5,000 foot level yet, you know. This
Plus,
is
we
really
also thought that the basketball courts would all be good seating, and they're organized a certain way, so.
that's why you'd like to keep it that way.
Well, it's not necessarily that it'll stay that way, Jennifer, and I think that's important because I think, you know, at the end of the day, when we design this, we want to look at, you know, sound attenuation and acoustics and all the other things. Look at visual sight lines and point of views, and all that stuff's going to have to be studied. I think whether this thing rotates a little bit this way or rotates a little bit the other way, you know, that's all things that will have to come when we get into the, you know, conceptual phase and schematic design and design development and final construction documents as we start to vet it. Right now, we're just deciding whether or not this is something we want to do, and we're at freaking 30,000 feet flying right now. But that's important to know, because I think eventually we'll ultimately have to come back to you guys with the DRB, get the devil in the details, and really start looking at these kind of things that are important to you guys.
From that standpoint, I like the concept. I just for the record, I think from reading the letter that Brad sent out, the first rendering that's shown in our package is actually option 2, which was what was recommended by long range planning, not
Yes,
option
sir.
1.
Correct.
Okay, so if we are approving the one with the complete roof structure, it's option 2. This is the one, so everybody's aware of that. In concept, I like the idea. Like I was just mentioning, you know, John, to your point, I totally get it. You know, the placement of this, the structure, I think is a little bit further down into the weeds. So, I mean, in concept, I'm good with option 2. Just studying the optimal placement for maximizing the town square utilization for events and whatnot.
is that a motion?
It can be.
Shall I call for a motion to approve option 2?
Peter, I didn't know if Peter Fleck had any additional comments.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Barely.
How wide the roof is and what you see the trusses being made of. Can you hear me okay?
I heard how wide the roof is, and then
What are the trusses made of?
Yeah, I was asking why they think the roof is, and if those are steel trusses or wood. Somebody mentioned wood at one time.
So the answer to your question, Peter, is yes. It's a concept, man. We have no idea, but it could be wood trusses. It could be painted steel. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, it's whatever we want it to be.
Okay.
But those are the devils in the details. This is like, you know, we're looking at, is this the right place for this venue? Is this approximately kind of the right look? I don't know how wide the roof will ultimately be, and I don't want to tell you today it's going to be 35 feet wide, and then, you know, the design ends up being 42 feet wide because we needed additional shade and coverage. And so this is really just about a 30,000 foot in the air conceptual package to make sure that generally the location is good and what we're trying to achieve is fine. And, you know, when we start to look at those kind of things, I think it is important for when we come back to the DLB to say, hey, we looked at cost saving suggestions and, you know, doing steel trusses versus wood trusses. It still looked like that. It's 4x4 tube steel, and it was easier to paint it than it was to do wood trusses that rot. You know, those are all the kind of things we got to look at.
My comments are because I would be a little bit concerned about wind loading and named storm with that design. I think the design looks awesome. I think you guys did a great job, but I would, you know, as you proceed forward, I would pay attention to maintenance and the structural components of that.
Absolutely. It would be certainly designed to the 150 mile an hour wind load uplifts. You know, that's the one thing that's nice about the way that it is designed, because you have, you know, great clips with the angled trusses coming down, be able to redhead into the top of the structure of the wall to allow that uplift. You know, I'll tell you what, it works really good when you have a storm coming in from the west. It's a little tight coming in from the east, but that's all going to be designed in it. We get it. I get that.
All right.
Any more comments? There's one comment down in the chat room, Robert. Do you know?
It just says who was the second on the minutes, and we can look through that on video because it's recording.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve or deny?
Are we approving that? Are we approving this design
As a concept.
as something like in our mind that may look like this and may not?
Generally, yes. I would say you probably should recommend option 1 or option 2, depending on the motion. But
I will make a motion to approve the concept with the large roof.
option 2.
Option 2.
That's the one.
Second.
All in
Second from
favor?
Mark.
Comments?
May I make a comment? I don't know if you'd be friendly to it, but just if you're fine with the general location too.
You mean like that it's behind town hall and, yeah.
Yeah,
Or
just
over by,
knowing that
over by the community.
It's where the
room.
community room is now.
I will amend the motion to also approve the location in concept.
And I still think that we should make a recommendation that they get a conceptual estimate on it as the next step.
And that our architectural guidelines should be looked at very well to make sure it doesn't overpower the town hall or look too different from the town hall.
Hey, Molly,
I'll be in favor for that.
Molly, when you say, just for the record, when you said who is they should get a budget.
Oh, well, who's ever taking this to the next step? Is
That'd
it
be
Rotary? Or
the downtown business committee and the Rotary. Okay, I just want to make sure, because, you know, our committee closed after we finished the design.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure who that they was.
Good point. And I say this just with caution, because otherwise you proceed without that information, you may be getting people pregnant, and we may get further into this than we want to.
Correct. Good point.
Was there a second to the amendment?
We need an amendment
The only amendment that's being discussed right now was the amendment of location. I think Molly wanted an additional amendment to include pricing, and then wanted an amendment to include.
I need to back up to the amendment where Peter made to approve the location concept. Was there a second to that?
I'll second that.
Okay, because if not, it dies.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Thank you,
The
Dorothy.
You're welcome. But the original second maker to the original motion was Ms. Sutton.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Molly, do you want to make a motion about the cost?
yeah,
Addition to-
I would also like to modify the motion to say that we recommend that a conceptual estimate be provided before they do anything else on this.
Do I have a second to that?
Second.
All in favor of the motion to approve option 2 on the location where it is, with a next step being providing a cost estimate?
And I have one more thing, sorry. That we're not concerned about how the fundraising actually gets done, right? Because it's not even the town that's doing the fundraising.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'd want to see a fundraising plan, I would assume. But
That's what we would work on after this. If
Okay.
council agrees to it, part of council's requirement would be looking at a fundraising plan.
So
Our
that'll just-
approval is a recommendation to the town council to review this, and they want to see that we've considered this and think it's a acceptable idea.
And my vote's gonna go not because I'm against the idea or the location or Molly's amendment, but mine is just over concern of it overpowering the town hall and not being in close enough style to it. So I'm ready to vote, though. I just wanted to say that.
Can we go back to the list of members, and I'll call them one at a time, Robert?
Sir,
Norma,
Aye.
Mr. Yeager,
Aye.
Frank's not here, Ms. Robert,
No,
Ms. Rose,
Aye.
Mr. Fleck,
Aye.
and that's it. We've got a, 4-1 vote to approve.
You can vote too, Stephen.
Aye. 5-1. All right. Any other comments?
Good luck.
Next up will be a workshop with town council.
yeah, we'll figure out a date with that for that.
Okay. Any other?
I'd like to know about
any
it.
other agenda items? We have a motion to adjourn.
second.
I didn't make the motion. Can you make the motion, Jennifer?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Molly, Rose? All in favor, say aye.
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 Unanimous. We are adjourned.
Bye, everybody.
Aye.
See you.